Each new day is a divine invitation, a chance to embrace the promise of God's grace and mercy. As the sun rises, we are reminded that with each morning comes the opportunity for renewal and fresh beginnings. It doesn't matter what challenges or struggles yesterday may have brought. Today is a new day, a gift wrapped in the unwavering love and faithfulness of our Heavenly Father. Beginning the day with prayer is not merely a routine. It is a sacred moment where we align our hearts with God's will. This moment of connection sets the tone for everything that follows, inviting peace into our souls, wisdom into our decisions, and strength into our steps. In the quiet stillness of prayer, we find reassurance that we are never alone, that every burden can be laid at His feet, and that His grace will carry us through whatever lies ahead. It's in this intimate moment of surrender that we open ourselves to receive God's guidance, strength, and clarity. As we step into the new day, we surrender our worries, doubts, and fears to the One who holds the universe in His hands. The simple act of offering up our day to God allows us to approach the world with a sense of confidence and peace. This sacred act of prayer prepares us to walk forward with faith, trusting that God is with us every step of the way. With each breath, we invite God's presence into our lives, welcoming His guidance and protection as we move through the day. Just as the morning sun shines new light, so does God's mercy shine into our hearts, guiding us through whatever comes our way. By embracing prayer at the start of each day, we are not simply marking time, but opening ourselves up to His transformative power, allowing it to renew our spirits and strengthen our resolve. With prayer, we embrace a fresh start, and this is where we find true peace and strength. The beginning of the day holds so much potential for renewal, and prayer is the key that unlocks this abundant opportunity. As we continue, we will reflect on how prayer helps us align our hearts with God's will and invites His wisdom into our lives. The invitation of a new day filled with God's grace. Every new day presents itself as a divine invitation, an opportunity to start afresh, filled with God's endless grace and boundless mercy. As the sun rises, it marks the dawning of not only a new day, but a chance for personal renewal. Regardless of the trials or challenges that yesterday may have brought, today is a blank page, an untainted gift wrapped in the love and faithfulness of our Heavenly Father. It's easy to get caught up in the worries of what's happened before, but embracing the new day allows us to let go of the past and step into a space where we can fully experience God's mercy. Each sunrise is a gentle reminder that God's mercy never fails and is renewed every morning. This natural phenomenon, where the darkness of night fades to the bright light of the day, mirrors the way God's mercy illuminates our lives. The light of the sun doesn't discriminate or hold grudges. Just as God's mercy, extended each morning, is impartial and unlimited. No matter how much we've struggled, the new day invites us to experience grace afresh, offering us the chance to start anew. Moreover, the act of witnessing the sunrise invites us to pause and reflect, urging us to embrace the present moment. Often, we rush through life, consumed by worries and to-do lists. However, in the quiet of the morning, we find an invitation to breathe deeply and center ourselves, accepting God's peace that comes with His mercy. Each new day, with its opportunity for renewal, is a gift, a time to realign ourselves with God's will and prepare our hearts for the journey ahead. In our hectic, modern lives, we often fail to fully appreciate the beauty of a new day. But as we stop and breathe in the freshness of the morning air, we are reminded of how much we take for granted. The sunrise, with its slow rise over the horizon, represents the consistency of God's love. It doesn't matter what storms we have weathered, the sun will rise again, offering us a new beginning. This is God's way of reassuring us that He is always with us, ready to guide us into the day ahead. As we move through the day, we remember that this gift of a new day is not just a chance for personal renewal, but for spiritual growth. Embracing the grace God provides with each dawn strengthens us, enabling us to walk through life's challenges with greater confidence. And as the sun rises, so does the light of God's mercy, guiding, comforting, and renewing us in every moment. From this foundation of mercy and renewal, let us now reflect on the role of prayer in connecting us with God's will and inviting His wisdom into our hearts. Starting the day with prayer as an alignment with God's will. Starting the day with prayer is more than a mere routine. It is an intentional act of aligning our hearts with God's will. Prayer at the beginning of the day helps to focus our thoughts and intentions, ensuring that we walk in step with God's plans for us. Each time we pause to pray, we are making a conscious choice to surrender our worries and desires to God, trusting that He will guide our actions. This is the moment where we invite peace, wisdom, and strength into our lives, allowing God's presence to transform our hearts and minds. When we begin our day in prayer, it is an opportunity to prepare ourselves for what lies ahead. Our decisions, actions, and interactions are influenced by the spiritual alignment we establish in the quiet of the morning. Just as we fuel our bodies with food to sustain us through the day, we fuel our spirits with prayer, which provides us with the strength and clarity needed to navigate challenges. It helps us embrace God's peace amidst the noise and stresses of daily life. For example, starting a day with prayer can shift our perspective. If we begin the day by asking for wisdom, we are more likely to make thoughtful, God-centered decisions throughout the day. If we seek God's strength, we are empowered to face difficulties with a resilient spirit. Prayer invites us to let go of the tension that often accompanies an overwhelming to-do list and replaces it with a sense of calm assurance. It reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles. God's guidance is ever present. Additionally, prayer allows us to align our hearts with God's desires for our lives. It is not merely a request for things we want or need, but an opportunity to express our willingness to follow His lead. As we offer our day to God in prayer, we are essentially saying, "Not my will, but yours be done." This act of surrender opens the door for God's grace to flow freely into our lives, shaping our actions, thoughts, and interactions throughout the day. As we step into the day, having aligned our hearts with God's will, we are equipped to face whatever comes our way with confidence. And as we navigate the day, we are reminded that the strength we draw from prayer is not our own. It is the strength of God, who walks beside us in every moment. Our hearts are anchored in His mercy and grace, allowing us to live each moment with purpose and peace. With prayer as our foundation, we are now ready to explore how we can find peace, wisdom, and strength through the next essential step of our spiritual journey, embracing the presence of God in our daily lives. Key Bible passages for guidance and strength. Starting the day with prayer is more than just a routine. It is a purposeful practice where we intentionally align our hearts with God's will. Prayer becomes a sacred time where we invite God's presence into our lives, recognizing His power and trusting that He will guide us through the challenges of the day. Every morning, we are offered a fresh start, an opportunity to surrender our desires, fears, and expectations to God, knowing that He will direct our steps. The act of beginning the day in prayer deeply impacts our perspective and our mindset. By seeking God first, we invite peace into our hearts. This peace is not a fleeting emotion, but a deep, unwavering sense of calm that comes from knowing we are secure in God's hands. No matter what challenges may arise during the day, we can rest in the peace that God provides. Prayer brings wisdom as well. As we begin each day with a humble request for clarity and discernment, we open ourselves to God's guidance. This divine wisdom helps us navigate the complexities of life, whether it is in making decisions at work, interacting with others, or handling personal matters. When we engage in prayer, we also invite strength to face the trials of the day. Life often brings unexpected obstacles, stress, confusion, or difficulties that seem insurmountable. However, when we begin the day in prayer, we are filled with God's strength, enabling us to approach the day's challenges without fear or discouragement. This strength is more than physical endurance. It is the inner resilience that allows us to remain steadfast in our faith, even when faced with adversity. Each prayer becomes an act of fortification, preparing us to tackle the day with courage and confidence. For instance, consider someone who has a major decision to make. By starting the day in prayer, they ask God to grant them clarity and wisdom. Throughout the day, they notice that, despite the pressures, they are able to make decisions with a sense of calm, guided by the wisdom they sought in prayer. This is how prayer shapes our daily actions, providing practical guidance in everything from career choices to personal relationships. Likewise, those struggling with anxiety or stress will often find that starting the day with prayer gives them the emotional strength they need. A person overwhelmed by worry may feel a sense of relief as they lay their burdens before God, knowing that He is in control. As the day progresses, they are able to handle stressful situations with a more peaceful and centered mindset, having begun the day grounded in God's presence. The impact of prayer is not confined to a moment in time. It carries through every part of the day. Whether we are at work, in our relationships, or facing challenges, the wisdom and peace we gain from prayer shape our responses to all situations. When we invite God's presence into our morning, it influences everything that follows. Prayer prepares us to engage with the world in a way that reflects God's love, patience, and understanding. This act of connecting with God in the morning through prayer becomes a cornerstone for the entire day. It aligns us with His will, providing direction, strength, and wisdom. By recognizing that we are not alone and trusting that God will guide us, we can move through life with purpose and clarity. As we continue, we will explore key Bible passages that serve as foundational sources of encouragement and guidance, reinforcing the importance of trusting in God's wisdom and mercy in our daily lives. Each of these key scriptures, such as Lamentations 3 verses 22 to 23, Psalm 118 verse 24, and Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6, offers profound insights on how to embrace God's will and find strength for the journey. Let's delve into these verses, understanding how they guide us through modern-day challenges and help us maintain a spirit of gratitude, trust, and reliance on God's mercy. Trusting in God's plan and surrendering control. Trusting in God's plan requires the conscious act of surrendering control. It is often difficult to let go of our desires and fears, especially when life feels uncertain or overwhelming. Yet, the Bible invites us to trust in God completely and to lean on His understanding rather than our own. This act of surrendering control is not a sign of weakness, but an acknowledgement of God's sovereignty and love. By trusting in God's plan, we open our hearts to His guidance, finding peace and purpose in His will. One of the most profound verses that encapsulates this trust is found in Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6, which states, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." This passage emphasizes the importance of submitting to God's will and relying on His wisdom rather than our own limited understanding. Trusting in God requires us to let go of our own plans and ambitions, knowing that His plan for us is far greater than anything we could design for ourselves. Letting go and surrendering control can be especially challenging in moments of uncertainty. We often feel the urge to take matters into our own hands, trying to control the outcome of situations in our lives. However, the Bible encourages us to trust God fully, even when the path ahead is unclear. In doing so, we allow God's perfect plan to unfold. While we may not always understand the reasons behind certain events, we can rest assured that God is working all things together for our good. When we surrender control to God, we find peace and purpose that transcends our circumstances. Lamentations 3 verses 22 to 23 speaks of God's mercy, saying, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Each new day, we are reminded of God's unending mercy and His faithful love. In trusting Him, we invite His peace to guard our hearts and minds, no matter what challenges we may face. By surrendering control, we allow God's will to guide our decisions and actions. This act of submission brings us into alignment with God's purposes for our lives. Whether we are making personal decisions, navigating relationships, or facing difficult situations, trusting God brings clarity and peace. When we align our hearts with His will, we can walk with confidence, knowing that He is directing our steps. It is through surrendering to God that we experience true freedom, freedom from worry, doubt, and the burden of control. In practice, building trust in God's plan involves daily moments of surrender. Each morning, we can take time to prayerfully surrender our day to God. By acknowledging His presence and asking for His guidance, we allow Him to lead us. This daily habit of prayer not only strengthens our relationship with God, but also helps us cultivate a heart of trust. The more we practice surrender, the more we experience God's peace and the assurance that He is in control. Ultimately, trusting in God and surrendering control is an ongoing journey. It requires patience, faith, and an openness to God's will. As we learn to trust Him more fully, we find peace that surpasses understanding and purpose in every aspect of our lives. By embracing God's plan, we live in alignment with His perfect will, and His grace strengthens us through every trial. As we continue, we will explore specific Bible passages that provide further encouragement and guidance on how trusting in God's plan can transform our lives. Through the Scriptures, we find not only peace but also the strength to surrender and walk faithfully with God. The power of community and shared prayer in faith. Community prayer holds significant power in the life of a believer as it strengthens faith and encourages mutual support among members. When individuals come together to pray, they are not only lifting their own needs before God, but also joining in solidarity with one another. This shared experience fosters a deep sense of connection and unity, creating a supportive environment where faith can be nurtured and strengthened. The communal act of prayer can provide comfort during times of uncertainty and help individuals find courage to face life's challenges. Praying together deepens the spiritual bonds between believers as they share in the vulnerability and intimacy of approaching God as a collective. There is a special kind of strength that comes from knowing that others are praying with you, standing in the gap and seeking God's will for your life. This support becomes a powerful source of encouragement, helping individuals feel less isolated in their struggles and more confident in the path that God is leading them on. The strength that comes from shared prayer is not limited to words spoken but extends into the heart, creating a sense of peace that transcends circumstances. For example, in times of illness or crisis, the act of coming together in prayer can bring about profound breakthroughs and healing. When a community of believers lifts someone in prayer, it not only strengthens the individual's faith, but also invites God's miraculous intervention. In such moments, the power of prayer becomes evident as people experience both physical and emotional healing. A testimony of such a breakthrough can serve as a beacon of hope for others, demonstrating that God still works powerfully through collective prayer. In addition to healing, shared prayer can also be a catalyst for breakthrough in areas such as relationships, finances, and personal growth. When individuals unite in prayer for a specific need, they invite God's wisdom and intervention into those situations. The community's prayers align with God's will, and through their collective faith, doors are opened and breakthroughs occur. Whether praying for guidance in decision-making or for the restoration of broken relationships, community prayer provides a sense of unity that enhances spiritual growth and empowers individuals to walk in God's purpose. Moreover, prayer builds a foundation of trust and surrender within a community. In Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6, we are reminded to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. This passage highlights the importance of trusting God, not only as individuals, but as a community. When we come together in prayer, we submit our collective will to God's, acknowledging His supremacy and seeking His direction. This submission allows God to guide and direct the community's efforts, leading them toward His perfect plan. The beauty of community prayer lies in its ability to align hearts with God's will, bringing peace, purpose, and unity to the body of believers. The experience of shared prayer helps individuals and groups grow in faith, knowing that they are not alone in their journey. As they walk together in prayer, they become a powerful force for change, breaking through barriers and creating an environment where God's presence can dwell richly. As we move forward, we will delve into the various ways community prayer can impact not only the individuals involved, but also the broader world around them. The collective power of prayer is a force to be reckoned with, and its influence is felt deeply in every aspect of life. Conclusion: walking in faith and embracing each day. Starting each day with prayer allows us to align ourselves with God's will, creating an opportunity to seek His guidance and peace. This act of surrender is not merely a ritual, it is a conscious decision to place our trust in God's plan for our lives. Trusting in His will is essential for walking in faith, as it frees us from the pressure of trying to control every aspect of our day. Instead, we are invited to trust that God's plan is always working for our good, regardless of the circumstances we may face. In Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6, we are reminded, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." This passage encourages us to fully trust in God, knowing that He will guide us through life's uncertainties. When we allow God to lead, we find that we are walking in His purpose, with a clear sense of direction and peace that surpasses human understanding. Each day is a new opportunity to walk in faith and embrace the love and grace God offers. By starting the day with prayer, we invite His presence into our lives, allowing us to face challenges with courage and joy. Trusting in God's plan provides us with a sense of purpose, knowing that we are not alone and that His love surrounds us at every moment. Surrendering control and trusting in His will brings peace, purpose, and guidance, ensuring that our actions and decisions align with His divine plan. Embrace each day with faith, knowing that God is with you every step of the way.